Srihari, 1. How to lead a household family life. Question: why should one get married? Is it a necessity? Answer: in our society there are two types of celibates, nastika, lifelong celibates, and upakurvana, celibates after leading a household life. Nastika celibates are those who lead a pure unmarried life throughout their life, while upakurvana celibates are those who after reflection are unable to renounce the desire for pleasure, so they lead a married life in order to root out this desire. It means that those who can't renounce the desire for pleasure, get married in order to experience that the desire for pleasure can't be rooted out through enjoyment. After the household social order, the other two social orders, namely the retired one and the renowned one, have been ordained in our society. It is not human to enjoy pleasures by leading a household life throughout. He who has a desire to enjoy mundane pleasures, or he who wants the family succession to continue and has no brother, should get married in order to wipe out the desire for pleasure or to continue the family succession. If he has none of the above-mentioned two desires, he need not get married. In the scriptures the path of renunciation has been declared to be the supreme. Question: how to follow the path of renunciation when it is forbidden in the Kali Age? Answer: it is forbidden in the Kali Age because in this age it is very difficult to follow this path properly. Therefore, just like retired government servants, he should retire from the domestic duties and, having handed over the family duties and responsibilities to his sons and grandsons, should devote himself to devotion to God. If his sons want, he should have affinity for his family in order to receive food and clothes for the mere maintenance. If the sons don't want it, he should renounce the affinity even for the mere maintenance. He should not worry for the maintenance of his body, because Saint Tulasida declares, fate is decided first and then the body is bestowed. So why should a person worry? He should recite Lord Rama's name with devotion. Question: what is the special duty of a householder? Answer: the special duty of a householder is to serve the persons of the four social orders, celibacy, household, retired and renounced, because the householder is their mother-father, sustainer, preserver, viz., all the persons of the four social orders are born of householders and are sustained and preserved by them. It is therefore the special duty of householders to sustain and support the persons of the four social orders. Hospitality, providing facilities to cattle such as cows, buffaloes, sheep and goats, etc., regarding rats etc., which live in the house as the members of the family, and to sustain and support them all. These are the special duties of a householder. Similarly, rendering service to gods and sages, offering oblation of cooked rice balls and water to manes, and rendering special service to God, chanting his name in his remembrance, are also special duties of householders. Question: how to lead a household life? Answer: this human body as well as this household order is the school to attain salvation. This human body does not aim at enjoying pleasures. Manasa, Uttara. 44:1. Even the attainment of the world of Brahma by performing religious sacrifice etc., is not at all praiseworthy, because he has a return from there also. Lord Krishna declares, all worlds including that of Brahma are subject to return, Gita 8/16. Therefore a householder should think of the welfare of all beings and should renounce his own comforts in order to provide comforts to others according to his own power, resources, with his body, mind, intellect and rights etc. This is humanitarian approach. Question: how to get rid of the violence which household affairs involve? Answer: violence of 5 types is committed by a householder. 1. In the kitchen in fire, tiny creatures such as ants, and also those living in the firewood are killed. Tiny creatures are also killed. 2. When the pitcher of water is removed from one place to another. 3. While the house is swept. 4. While the grinding wheel, mill, is used. 35. And while rice is husked in the mortar. In order to get rid of this violence, a householder should make offerings to all deities, by presenting oblations to fire before meals, and perform 5 great yagyas daily, offering of a portion of daily meal to all creatures. He who takes refuge only in God commits no violence, he is freed from all sins. Question: why shall we commit violence when we neither husk rice in the mortar nor do we use the grinding wheel, mill, for grinding corn into flour? Answer: you use the corn which is ground into flour and the rice which is husked. Both these processes involve violence, so you will incur violence. Question: should a farmer not farm when farming involves violence of innumerable creatures? Answer: he must farm, but he should be careful not to commit violence. A farmer while farming incurs less sin as it is his duty. So he should not renounce his duty being afraid of the sin. But he should be careful not to commit violence as far as possible. Question: is it justified on the part of farmers to use insecticides in order to protect the crop? Answer: farmers should not use insecticides. In the past, when farmers did not commit such violence, grain was cheap. But today when they commit violence, it is dear. Twardly it appears that there is more production of grain by killing insects, but it will not bear good fruit. Question: in the scriptures there are 5 debts which are to be paid to manes gods, sages, creatures and human beings. Out of them what is the debt which is to be paid to manes and how to pay it? Answer: the obsequies performed at the death of parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, maternal grandparents and maternal great-grandparents are known as pratakarya, and offerings of oblation of cooked rice ball and water to manes are known as pitakarya. After death a being may go to any species, of gods, human beings, birds, beasts, ghosts, evil spirits, trees and creepers etc. He is called a pitara, manes. The body is constituted of the ovum and sperm of parents. It is nourished by the mother's milk and the foodstuff earned by the father. The son receives education and talent from parents, the parents get him married. Thus a son is indebted to his parents, the parents are indebted to grandparents, and the grandparents are indebted to the great-grandparents. Thus in order to be free from this ancestral debt and to lead the manes to salvation, a son should offer oblation of cooked rice balls and water etc. to them. If a son offers oblation of cooked rice balls and water to his manes but he does not produce any offspring for offering cooked rice balls and water to the manes, he is not freed from debt which he owes to them, viz., he remains indebted to them. When an offspring is born, he does not remain indebted to them anymore, the debt is transferred to the offspring. Manes want the offerings of cooked rice ball and water. Therefore they are happy if they receive them, but sad without them. They are also sad if no offspring is born to the son, because they think that no one will offer the oblation of cooked rice balls and water to them. Question: do manes receive the oblation offered to them? Answer: yes, manes receive the oblation offered to them in the form of food and drink in whatsoever life, species, they are. If they are an animal species, the oblation offered to them is received by them in the form of grass. But if they are in divine form of life, they receive it in the form of nectar. It means that they receive it as sustenance. As money sent by us in rupees to America by money order is received in the form of dollars there, so is the oblation offered to manes in the form of cooked rice ball and water, and charity given for them, is received by them in the form of food and drink according to their species. Today the necessities of life such as food and clothes that we honorably receive may be either the fruit of our virtuous actions of the past or of the oblation offered by our sons and grandsons etc., of the previous life. But it is certainly decided by the fate. As a person deposits an amount of 100,000 rupees in a bank in 3 accounts, his own, his wife's and his son's, he can withdraw the money only from his own account. As far as the money deposited in the accounts of his wife and son is concerned, only they can withdraw it. Similarly the oblation offered to manes is received by them only. But if we offer oblation in the form of cooked rice ball and water in our name, we shall receive it after death. In Gaya the cooked rice balls and water offered in the name of beasts and birds is received by them. A person loved his cow very much. When the cow died, he had a dream and he saw that the cow was in a very miserable and sad condition. He went to Gaya and offered oblation of cooked rice ball and water for her. She again appeared to him when he had a dream and she was very happy. We have not so much of claim to the money earned by our father, grandfather and great-grandfather as we have on our own earned money. According to the family tradition, our sons and grandsons have a claim to the money of our father and grandfather etc. Similarly the manes receive the water and oblation offered to them by sons and grandsons according to the family tradition. So it is the responsibility of sons and grandsons to offer oblation and water to father and grandfather at day. It is not a rule that all people after death must go to the world of manes because they meet with destiny according to their actions. Question: what happens to the water and oblation offered by the son whose parents have attained salvation and gone to the abode of God? Answer: if the son's parents have attained salvation and gone to the abode of God but the son does not know it, the oblation and water offered and the charity given in their name is deposited in the account of the son and he receives it after death, in the same way as the money sent by the sender comes back to him if the addressee is not available. Question: can a person be free from the debt of manes without giving birth to offspring? Answer: yes, he can be free. He who totally surrenders himself to God becomes free from all debts. Srimadbha 11/5/41, Q. King, he who surrenders himself to God, does not remain indebted and a servant, slave, to anyone, gads, sages, creatures, family and manes. Question: how are we indebted to gods and how to rid ourselves of this debt? Answer: we receive rain, air, sunshine, sunlight and moonlight by which we maintain our body, and the earth holds all of us, thus we are indebted to gods. The offerings of oblation to the fire god and performance of religious sacrifice nourish gods and we become free from our debts. Question: How are we indebted to sages and how to rid ourselves of this debt? Answer: we are indebted to sages and saints for the books and smritis, 18 books of traditional Hindu law, composed by them. Those books impart teaching and preaching to us and make us realize what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. We become free from this debt by studying and teaching these books, by morning and evening prayers and by reciting Gayatri Mantra, a Vedic meter which is to be recited daily by the twice-born. Question: how are we indebted to creatures, Hitarna, and how to rid ourselves of this debt? Answer: all creatures such as cows, buffaloes, sheep, goats, camels, are sna ursus h and sustain our life. Trees, plants and creepers provide us fruits, flowers rans w, udiet. So we are indebted to them. We are free from this debt by feeding animals and birds and by providing water to them, and by manuring and watering trees and creepers, etc. Question: how are we indebted to human beings and how to rid ourselves of this debt? Answer: we don't sustain our life without the help of other human beings. We walk along the paths, roads, made by others. We use the water of the wells constructed by others. We make use of the trees planted by others and we eat the food produced by others. Therefore we can rid ourselves of this debt by providing wells, water, huts, trees, roads, hospices and food. A householder has to pay all these 5 kinds of debt. He who totally surrenders himself to God, does not remain indebted to manes and gods, etc. He rids himself of all debts. Question: should a couple who have no issue adopt a kith and kin or an orphan boy or girl? Answer: in the world of today it is advisable for a couple not to adopt any child. The reason is that when even one's own son does not serve and obey his parents, how will the adopted son serve and obey them? Though there is an ordinance of the scriptures for a couple to adopt a child so that he may offer water and oblation to them, yet what is the use of adopting him when he will not offer water and oblation to the manes? If we needed a son, God would give us one. We need no son, so God has not given us one. Why should we get into trouble by adopting a child? Generally it is noticed that adopted sons trouble parents and don't serve them. Therefore such couples should educate and serve orphan boys and should make arrangement for their maintenance. Question: if a couple have no son, who will serve them in their old age? Answer: do all sons serve their parents? How will the sons, who want to lay claim to their parents' property and to guard the offering of obsequial oblation as a futile activity, serve the parents? They prove troublesome to their parents. A man receives service and comforts according to his fate whether he has sons or no. We have clearly noticed that people serve the dispassionate saints more than sons serve their parents. It means that sons don't necessarily serve parents. Question: if we have no son, who will offer us oblation and water, and how shall we meet with a good destiny without the offering of water and oblation? Answer: those who receive the offering of water and oblation have to follow the cycle of birth and death. As a traveler breaks his journey on account of hunger and thirst and again starts his journey having eaten food and drunk water, so do the departed souls stop at a place without the offering of oblation and water, but when oblation and water are offered to them, they start from that place and their cycle of birth and death begins, but they don't attain salvation. In fact, salvation does not in the least depend on offspring. If salvation depends on offspring, it means that salvation is dependent. Then how is the human life independent? When even attachment to the body is an impediment to salvation, how will the hope of receiving oblation and water from sons after death lead a man to salvation? It will lead him only to bondage. Therefore the person who wants to attain salvation should renounce the 3 desires, of sons, of honor and of wealth, because all these 3 are the stumbling blocks to God realization. He who has a desire to receive the offering of water and oblation, wants to follow the cycle of birth and deaths because he is born somewhere, then and then only he will have a desire to receive the offering of oblation and water. If he is not born, why should he expect the offering of oblation and water? It is totally wrong that a man does not attain salvation without a son. If the offspring led a man to salvation, the 11 young ones of a pig and 108 young ones of a snake would lead the pig and the snake to salvation. Similarly, the larger number of children should lead their parents to salvation. But it does not happen. A man should be engaged in God's adoration by depending on him whether he has offspring or not. If a person can't renounce the desire of having offspring, he, she, should regard Rama or Krishna as his son and should love him as his own son. He, Lord Rama or Krishna, will serve him so sincerely that a real son can't serve him. He will make his father's life successful here as well as hereafter. Question: how can a householder be free from worries because he has to nourish and marry his children and has to perform such other domestic liabilities? Answer: every being is born according to his fate. The fate involves 3 factors: birth, age and pleasures or pain as the fruit of the past actions. Out of these 3 a being has already taken birth. As for his age is concerned, He will live as long as is destined, and he will face pleasure and pain in the form of desirable and undesirable circumstances. In fact, circumstances don't make a man happy or sad, but he becomes happy or sad in the favorable or unfavorable circumstances out of ignorance. If a girl is of marriageable age, her parents should not be worried because everything has been decided by her own fate. So she will have favorable or unfavorable circumstances according to her fate. But parents should think that she should be married to a deserving young man of a good family so that she may lead a happy life. But it is beyond their power to make her happy or to send her to a good family, therefore parents should perform their duty without being worried. Worry makes the inner sense, heart, impure, and there is no progress. They should perform their duty after giving a serious thought to it, because the thought develops intellect. So every person should give a serious thought to how to perform an activity, but he should not worry about it. Thought problem is thought over, being free from worry, a suitable solution is certainly found out. Question: what should the parents do if their sons don't serve them in their old age? Answer: in such cases parents should have no affinity for sons. They should hold that they are not their sons. They feel sad only because they expect to receive facilities and comforts from the members of their family. If they expect nothing from them, they will become happy. So they should renounce this sense of expectation and should think that by God's grace they have received this golden opportunity of austerity in the form of unfavorable circumstances, and if the members of their family serve them, they would act entangled in parental affection and infatuation. Thus God by His grace did not let them get entangled in it. Infatuation or attachment is an obstacle to spiritual progress. We should feel thankful to them for their great kindness that they, having removed obstacles, are leading us to salvation. If a man receives service from the members of his family throughout his life, he has a keener desire to receive service from them in his old age also because of his physical incapability. Therefore he should be cautious by thinking that the human life has not been bestowed upon him for receiving service, but it aims at rendering service to everyone, such as pods, sages and saints, manes, beasts and birds and God, etc. We should not expect to receive any comfort or convenience from anyone. If we don't receive any comfort or convenience from anyone from the very beginning, we shall not feel sad if no one provides us with comfort or convenience and serves us in our old age. The feeling of rendering service to others will rouse in our mind. There is need of renunciation in every sphere. Peace immediately follows renunciation. It is a great austerity to remain pleased in unfavorable circumstances. Austerity rather than comfort or convenience purifies the heart. The desire for comfort or convenience makes the heart impure. Therefore a man, instead of having a desire to receive comfort, should provide comfort to others with his mind, speech and body. Question: what should the members of a family do in order to provide peace to the departed soul and to do away with their bereavement? Answer: 1. They should offer Narayana Bali and obsequious oblation for departed soul. 2. Whenever there is the memory of the dead person, the members of the family should behold him at the feet of God. 3. In his name there should be recitation of the Gita, the recitation of the Bhagavata, in a week, the recitation of the Ramakirtamanasa, in 9 days, chant of the divine name and Lord chanting, etc. 4. Sweetmeat should be distributed among the poor children in the name of the dead person. Children are pleased with sweetmeat. Their pleasure provides peace to the departed soul as well as to the members of the family. Bereavement should not be an obstacle. Attending divine discourses, programs of God's stories, chanting the divine name, going to temples and going for pilgrimage, they should certainly perform those divine ceremonies. Out of them there is a great glory of the divine discourses as they remove all kinds of sadness. 2. Dealings, behavior. Question: what type of dealings should a person have with the elderly members of the family? Answer: it is the duty of the younger generation to provide comfort, to serve, to honor, to obey the elderly people and to remain under their control. But it is not the duty of the elderly people that they should regard themselves as elderly, adorable and honorable. The reason is that if they themselves think so, others may not respect them and finally they may be dishonored. So the elderly people should only think of nourishing all, providing comforts to the younger ones at the cost of their own comfort. If both the elderly and the young people have such feelings, the whole family and society can become happy. Question: what type of dealings should father-in-law, mother-in-law and parents have with widows? Answer: if a daughter-in-law or a daughter becomes a widow, her father-in-law, mother-in-law and parents should respect her from their heart and should also protect and control her lest she should be spoiled. It means that for her welfare they should have such dealings that she should neither be sad nor be spoiled, corrupt. In such cases the mother-in-law and mother should lead a simple life. They should wear simple clothes and ornaments and eat food for the bare maintenance rather than to enjoy them. By doing so they will leave a good impression on the daughter-in-law and daughter and their life will improve. But if the mother-in-law and mother enjoy them, it will leave a bad impression on the daughter-in-law and daughter. Similarly, if the mother-in-law and the mother lead a controlled life, It will leave a good impression on the daughter-in-law and daughter, and their life will improve. So they should lead a simple and controlled life. In the world there is glory of the man of self-control and renunciation rather than of a luxuary and a hoarder. Question: what type of dealings should brothers and their wives have with a widow? Answer: they should respect her from their heart, they should not slight her. They should safeguard her character and feelings. They should control and love her, keeping in view her welfare. Question: should parents eat the food of the house of their married daughter? Answer: when parents offer their daughter as charity to their son-in-law, she becomes the mistress of that house. So parents are not authorized to eat the food of her house. We have heard an anecdote. A cobbler of Varisana went to Nandagaon in the morning for some business. He had to stay there up to noon. He was hungry and thirsty, but how could he even drink water of the village of the daughter? Plus he did not drink water there, thinking that Vrsabanuji's daughter, Radhaji, was offered as charity to a member of that village. So without drinking water he started for Varisana. While going back, being thirsty, he fell down on the way. At that time Radhaji, disguised as the daughter of that cobbler, came to him and said, "Father, I have brought water for you, drink it." The cobbler said, "Can't drink the water of this place because this place is within the boundary of Nandagaon." Radhaji said, "I have brought this water from Varisana." He drank the water and asked her to go. Radhaji went away. Afterwards, when he reached home, he lovingly told his daughter that she had saved his life by offering water to him, otherwise he might have died. The daughter said that she had not gone there with water. Then the cobbler came to know that it was Radhaji disguised as his daughter who had brought water for him. It means that in the past people did not even drink water and eat food in the village of their daughter. As long as a daughter does not give birth to a child, food and water of her house should not be accepted by parents. The people of Varisana consider Radhaji their daughter. The reason is that the son-in-law accepts the daughter of other persons in order to be free from his debt to his ancestors. When an issue is born, he becomes free from that debt. Therefore parents lay claim again to their daughter, and thus the daughter's son offers obsequious oblation and water etc. to his maternal grandfather and mother, and they accept it in the next world. If the child born to the daughter instead of being male is female, the food and water of her house can also be accepted by her parents, because by the birth of an issue, the charity offered in the form of the daughter proves successful. Question: what type of dealings should parents and offspring have for each other? Answer: parents should think it their duty to improve the life of their sons and daughters, here as well as hereafter, without thinking of their own convenience and comfort. So they should rule over them, impart good training to them, and even scold them according to the need of the hour for their welfare. The offspring should think that they have received the body from their parents by which they can realize God and attain the supreme bliss. So they should never trouble their parents, they should not defame them. But they should perform such actions by which their parents may gain honor in society. They should also have the feeling that the fruit of the virtuous actions such as pilgrimage and feast etc. should go to their parents. Thus, by thinking of the welfare of each other, the sentiment of love among them will develop, the family will be happy at that time, and in future it will lead them to salvation. Question: what type of dealings should the husband and the wife have with each other? Answer: the husband should think that his wife has renounced her parents and brothers etc. for him, so she should not suffer. He should provide her with all her necessities such as food, clothes and house etc., and give more comfort to her. Moreover, he should pay attention that she maintains chastity without becoming unrestrained, which will lead her to salvation. The wife should think that she has renounced her lineage and family for her husband. So she should in no way become the cause of her husband's trouble, insult, calumny and dishonor at day. It will be very improper on her part if her husband is reproached in any way because of her. Her husband should not suffer in the least, though she herself may suffer a lot. Thus she should pay attention to the comfort of her husband even at the cost of her own comfort, and should think how to reform her husband's life here and hereafter. Question: what type of dealings should the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law have with each other? Answer: the mother-in-law should think that her daughter-in-law, having let her parents, has come to her house and she is a part and parcel of her son, so she should not have such dealings with her that her daughter-in-law may think of her mother. The daughter-in-law should think that her mother-in-law is the mother of her husband, who is all in all for her. She should respect and honor her mother-in-law and provide comfort to her even at the cost of her own. She should think that her mother-in-law's harsh behavior towards her is only for her welfare. She should feel that no one can serve her so much during her illness as her mother-in-law does. No one can be a better well-wisher for her than her mother-in-law. She has been lovingly called Bharani, daughter-in-law, by her mother-in-law, and she has been made her successor by her. She can repay her for her goodness even in several births. So she should not in the least trouble her mother-in-law in any way. Similarly, she should respect her husband's brothers and their wives more than her own brothers and sisters. She should regard her husband's elder brother and his wife as her father and mother and younger brother and his wife as her son and daughter, and should think of providing comfort to them. So every activity from the meanest to the greatest should be performed for their comfort and welfare, thinking that she has come to their house only to serve them. She should not think of their harsh behavior towards her, thinking that their harsh behavior is only for her welfare. Question: what type of dealings should the elder brother's wife and the younger brother have with each other? Answer: the elder brother's wife and the younger brother should have their dealings with each other like Sita and Bharata. Sita regarded Bharata as her son. Kaikeyi sent Lord Rama into exile without any reason, but Sita never blamed Bharata and never slighted him. But when Bharata in Chitrakshita put the dust touched by her feet on his head, she blessed him. The elder brother's wife, like a mother, should ever think of the welfare of the younger brother of her husband, even though he slights her, while the younger brother of her husband should honor her as if she were his mother. Though Sita was not much older than Bharata and Lakshmana, yet they respected her like their own mother. Question: what type of dealings should a girl's husband and her brother have with each other? Answer: the girl's husband should think that as he loves his wife, her brother also deserves his love. Moreover, they receive some gift or the other from her parent house. So from the worldly point of view they are at an advantage. Renunciation plays an important part in the spiritual sphere also. The girl's brother should think that his sister's husband is honorable for him as he is honorable for his sister. As there is glory of offering a gift to one's sister or daughter, so is there glory of offering a gift to the sister's husband. He deserves love and charity, so he should be offered gifts by respecting him from the heart. Question: what type of dealings should the brother and the sister have with each other? Answer: in dealings it is the brother rather than the sister who generally commits an error. So the brother should think that his sister is an idol of mercy. So she should be respected and loved. It is as virtuous to offer a gift to a sister or a daughter as it is to feed a brahmana, a member of the priest class. The government has made a law to give a share of the father's property to the daughter. So there can be a strife between the brother and the sister, and estrangement can be a common occurrence between the two over the share of the property. When there are quarrels among brothers over the share of parental property, there is nothing uncommon if there is a quarrel between the brother and the sister over it. So according to our old tradition, sisters should not share the property of their fathers. This act is righteous and pure. Things such as wealth, etc., are not important, as at present they prove to be the root of wrangles and finally lead to hells. They are useful in dealings only. But dealings will be good only if importance is attached to love rather than to wealth. He is not human to quarrel over wealth. This sort of dealing is like dogs who play with each other with great love so long as they don't get a piece of bread. But they start quarreling as soon as they get a piece of bread. If men also quarrel in the same way, how is it human? A man's life becomes successful here as well as hereafter if he attaches importance to righteousness, duty, renunciation and the orders of God and sages. But if he attaches importance to honor, praise and selfishness, etc., his life here as well as hereafter is spoiled. Question: how should a householder behave towards an aditya, guest? Answer: an aditya, guest, is he whose date and time of arrival is not certain. There is predominance of hospitality only in the household social order. The second position goes to the retired order, while it does not occupy any predominant place in the social orders of celibacy and renunciation. When a celibate becomes a graduate, viz., when he, having followed the rules of celibacy, makes preparation to enter the household life, in the convocation address he is given the preaching, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava, Akarya Devo Bhava, Aditya Devo Bhava, Taittiriya Upanishad, Siksa. 11 halves, viz., serve the mother, the father, the teacher and the guest, regarding them as God. This is a spical rule for those who enter the household life. Therefore a householder should entertain the guest to his level best. Hospitality includes providing the guest with a seat, food and water, etc., but the important factor is to offer food to him. When the food is ready, first the householder should perform the ceremony of Balavavadeva, which means that he should offer food to all creatures, the entire creation. Then he should offer the food to God. After that he should offer food to the guest and mendicant. A mendicant can be of 6 kinds: Brahmachari Yadaska Eva, Vidyarthi Guru Posaka Advagaksi Navadaska Siddhi Piksuki Smrta, a celibate, a sage, renouncer, a student, he who serves the teacher, a traveler and he who has lost his livelihood, he whose house has caught fire, the thieves and robbers have robbed him and he has no means of earning his livelihood, etc. These 6 are called mendicants, therefore they should be offered food. What should a householder do if a guest or a mendicant happens to come before the performance of Balavasvadeva, offering food to all creatures? If time permits, he should perform Balavasvadeva, otherwise he should offer food to the mendicant. A celibate and a renouncer are the owners of the cooked food. He who eats food without offering it to them incurs sins whose penitence is the Chandrayana fast. If a guest goes empty, the method of observing the Chandrayana fast is as follows. On the first day of the lunar fortnight the householder should cut a morsel, on the second day 2 morsels, and thus by increasing 1 morsel every day on the last day of the lunar fortnight he should eat 15 morsels of food. Similarly, in the dark fortnight he should decrease 1 morsel every day, viz., he should eat 14 morsels on the first day, 13 on the second day, and so on. It means that the number of morsels increases with the increase in the phase, brightness, of the moon and decreases with the decrease in the phase of the moon in this fast. Nothing else should be taken besides the morsels handed from a householder's house. He takes away the virtues of the householder and offers his sins to him in return, therefore food must be offered to the guest. A householder inwardly should regard the guest as an embodiment of God and should respect him and offer him food and water, but outwardly he should remain aware and not let out the CRA of home and not tell him the domestic ins and outs at day. It means that in spite of respecting him inwardly he should not trust him, because in these days any person may come disguised as a guest. Question: It is the duty of a householder to offer food to an ascetic, renouncer. First of all, while it is the duty of an ascetic to go for alms, food, after the householder has taken it. How do the two opinions coincide? Answer: A householder having cooked the food first of all should perform the ceremony of Balavisvadeva, viz., offer food to the entire creation and then offer food according to his resources to the guest. If no guest turns up, he should wait for the guest outside the gate for as much time as is spent in milking a cow. If even then no guest comes, his share should be put aside and then he should eat food. An ascetic hoards nothing. So when he feels hungry, he should go for alms to the house of a householder at the evening when the householder has taken his meal and cleaned the utensils of his food. It means that he should not be a burden on the householder and the householder's food should not remain insufficient for him. If there are only 1 or 2 persons in the family and the food has been cooked for them, the food may fall short for them if a mendicant comes for alms. But it will make little difference if there are several members in the family. But if several mendicants turn up at the same time, there will be burden on that family also. So an ascetic should go for alms to the house of a householder when all the members have eaten the food and should accept the remaining food. Moreover, an ascetic should stay outside the house of a householder only for as much time as is taken while milking a cow. If a householder has no intention of offering food to him, he should depart from there without being angry. Similarly, the householder should also not feel angry. Question: What type of dealings should a householder have with his neighbor? Answer: A householder should regard the neighbor as a member of his family. Only the mean-hearted, minded persons make the distinction between their own and the others, while the broad-minded persons regard all the beings of the earth as their family. All beings are our brothers because of our relation with God. So we should have our dealings with our neighbor as we have with the members of our family. If there is any sweetmeat or fruit with us, and there are our own children as well as the children of our neighbor, while distributing the sweetmeat etc., we should first give the sweetmeat of the superior quality to the neighbor's children a little more than we give to our own children. After we should give it a little more to the children of our sister or daughter. Then we should give it to the children of our brother and family etc. Thus people may have a doubt that their children will be at a loss by receiving less and inferior quality of sweetmeat etc., but it is not a fact. If we behave towards the children of our neighbor, sister and daughter etc., in a good manner by giving them extra and better share, they will pay our children back in our own coin. Thus the balance will remain the same, but this sort of behavior will enhance their love for one another. Love is more precious than things or objects. If the neighbor's cow or buffalo enters your house and starts eating something, you should neither quarrel with the neighbor nor give a thrashing to the animal, but should say to the neighbor, "Brother, your cow or buffalo has entered our house. Please see that it does not come again." If we behave politely, our neighbor will also pay us in the same coin. Even if the neighbor behaves cruelly, we should not be angry with him, but we should be specially watchful that our cow or buffalo does not cause any loss to the neighbor. If there is a function or matriarch ceremony in our house and delicious sweet dishes are prepared, we should also offer them to the children of the neighbors, because being neighbors they are the members of our family. If you want to behave more affectionately towards them, you should offer gifts to their sisters and daughters when they get married in the same way as you offer to your own sisters and daughters. Moreover, you should behave towards their son-in-law as you behave towards your own son-in-law. Question: What type of dealings should a master have with his servant? Answer: The master should behave with his servant as he behaves with his son. A servant is employed in 2 ways, on payment of salary, and food too, only by paying salary. The servant who eats food in the master's house should be served the same food as is served to the master. Generally first-rate food is cooked for the lady's son and husband, second-rate for other members of the family, and third-rate for the servant. But it is not justified. The food of the medium quality should be cooked and it should be served to all the members of the family including the servant without any discrimination. If a mendicant comes at that time, he should also be given the same food. The servant who is paid the salary only can cook the food as he wishes and eat it. But if any special dishes of sweetmeats are prepared on certain occasions, they should also be given to the servant's children. If there is any marriage etc., in the family, the servant should be given clothes etc. besides proper payment of the salary. From time to time prizes, clothes and sweetmeats etc., should also be offered to him. Prizes etc. Leave a better impression than the payment of salary. It makes the donor generous and love is enhanced between the master and the servant. Then the servant protects the members of the master's family from thieves and robbers and works enthusiastically. Question: what dealings should a person have with rats, lizards, mosquitoes and bugs which live in the house? Answer: a man should regard these creatures as the members of the family because they live in it by making their home. So they are entitled to live in it. It means that they should be nourished as far as possible by protecting the members of the family. It is not proper on the part of the people to kill them as some people do. A man is authorized to protect himself but he is not authorized to kill anyone. As a man lives on the earth by building his house, so do creatures such as rats etc., live by making home. So they should not be killed. If there are poisonous creatures such as snake or scorpion etc., in the house, they should be caught tactfully and should be left free at a safe place far from the house. Mosquitoes and bugs are born because of filth and rubbish, so the house should be kept neat, clean and tidy so that they may not be born. We are not authorized to kill them even if they are born in spite of cleanliness. Question: should a dog be kept as a pet? 7 Answer: a dog should not be kept as a pet. He who keeps it as a pet goes to hells. In the Mahabharata it is mentioned that when the 5 Pandavas and Draupadi having renounced the world started towards the north, all of them including Bhima except Yudhishthira fell down while walking. At last when Yudhishthira also staggered, Matali being ordered by Indra, the Lord of Gods, brought the chariot to Yudhishthira and said to him, "Come to heaven with your physical body." Yudhishthira saw that a dog was standing beside him. He said that the dog had taken refuge in him and so it would go to heaven with him. Indra said to Yudhishthira, "Dharmaraja, Yudhishthira, there is no place in the heaven for those who keep the dog as a pet." The demons named Krodavasa devour the virtues possessed by a man by performing religious sacrifice and by getting wells and ponds etc. constructed. Therefore act thoughtfully and leave this dog. It involves no cruelty. Yudhishthira said, "I have not nourished it. It has taken refuge in me. Offer it half of my virtue. So it will accompany me." When Yudhishthira said so, Dharmaraja, the Lord of Righteousness, revealed himself and said, "I put you to the test. You have gained a victory over me, now move to the heaven." It means that a householder should not keep a dog as a pet. In the Mahabharata it is mentioned, Binabhandam ca katvam ca kakutam sanakam tate prasastani sarvana yaska, svrkso, ogurharuha binaban kalim prakatvyam tudanaksaya kakut sunika eva havernsnandi, devatavriksamul drivam sadvarntasmadvriksam naropayit. Mahabharata, Anu. 127 15-16. TT is not a good omen to have broken utensils, broken cot, a cock, a dog, the peepal tree etc., in the house. It is said that Kaliyaj resides in the broken utensil. A broken cot causes loss to wealth. If cocks and dogs are kept as pets, gods don't accept the oblation offered in that house. If there is a big tree in the compound of the house, in its roots the creatures such as snakes and scorpions etc., certainly live, so trees should not be planted in the compound of the house. The dog is very impure and unholy. With its way of living with particular reference to eating and drinking, with its touch and with its sitting from one place to another, it causes impurity and unholiness in the way of living, eating and drinking etc., of the householder, and the fruit of unholiness is unholiness, hell etc. Question: what is the harm if a dog is kept in order to safeguard the field? Answer: the dog should be kept only to safeguard the field. It should be given the pieces of bread from time to time. But it should be kept apart. Its company, taking it for a walk and its touch against decorous behavior are forbidden. It means that it is not a guilt to nourish a dog and to protect it because it is an important duty of a householder to nourish every creature. But living chummily with the dog, keeping it in company and being attached to it, lead him to a downfall. The reason is that at the time of death if its thought comes to the mind of the householder, he will have to become a dog. Question: if the peepal tree grows on the roof or the wall of the house, should it be removed from there? Answer: it should be rooted out and planted in front of the temple or at a proper place in the street, and it should be regularly watered. As far as possible the peepal tree should not be cut down even if the roof or the wall has to be broken. The roof or the wall should be repaired after that. The peepal, the pakara, the gillara, sycamove, the avala, emblik myrabalan, the tulasi, basil, etc., are holy trees which should be specially respected as they sanctify human beings. Question: How should a householder earn money to sustain life? Answer: A householder should earn money by working hard without snatching at the claim of others. He should offer its 10th or 15th or 20th part for charity. Earning of money involves some flaws. So he should offer some money for charity as penitence. Question: According to the laws of the government, money cannot be earned honestly. So what should be done? Answer: The solution is to decrease expenses by leading a simple and pure life, by spending no money on tastes, fashions and decorations. We are not free in earning as much money as we want, but we are free in decreasing our expenses. Whatever being a man thinks of at the last moment when he leaves the body, that alone does he attain. Copyright Kantiya, Arjuna, being ever absorbed in the thought thereof, Gita 8/6. Question: It is an open fact that money is spent if all taxes are paid and money is saved if taxes are evaded. So is tax evasion not desirable? Answer: Once it appears that money is saved by evading taxes, but actually it will not remain with the cheat. The money saved dishonestly will serve no purpose for him. But he will have to suffer punishment for the fraud, falsehood, deception and injustice which he applied in order to save money, and he will have to die by renouncing the money earned by injustice. It means that this money earned by injustice will either go to doctors and lawyers, or thieves and robbers will take it away, or it will remain lying in banks but will not be used by him. So why should a person commit sin and do injustice in order to earn such money which will serve no purpose for him? It is not a fact that income will be less if a person earns by honest means. Whatever money is likely to be gained will be certainly gained, whatever the circumstances may be. Several such cases are noticed that the persons who renounce money and don't accept it, earn money. It means that as a person has to sustain loss, sickness and pain without having a desire for them and without making any effort, so is the money or pleasure gained without having any desire and without making any effort. Sukhamendriyakam Rajan Svarjan Maraka Eva Cadhinad Myad Yada Dukam Tasman Eshada Tad Buddha, Srimidba. 11/8/1, Q. O King. As being suffered determined by fate without having desire for it, so are the delights that are contact-born, gained in heaven and hell. So a wise man should not hanker after these delights. The mansi earned by injustice, dishonesty, stays for 10 years and it is destroyed with the principal amount in the 11th year. 3. Advice pertaining to children. Question: How to give birth to ideal offspring? Answer: Parents can give birth to ideal offspring when their own conduct and sentiments are ideal and their purpose of giving birth to a child is to be free from the debt which they owe to manes rather than to derive pleasure. The reason is that the offspring born because of attachment to pleasure is generally not noble. It was because of the ideal conduct and sentiments of Kundi that she gave birth to Yudhishthira, an embodiment of the Lord of Righteousness. The pregnant mothers should listen to the stories of God and His devotees, should think of them and see their photographs in order to give birth to noble and excellent offspring. Thus, being influenced by good company, the mother gives birth to noble offspring. When Prahlada's mother was pregnant, sage Narada, keeping in mind the boy that was to be born, narrated her the stories of God and imparted preaching to her. Thus in the family of demons such a noble son, Prahlada, was born. There are 4 important factors which are responsible for ideal and noble offspring. They are good, virtuous, actions, good thoughts, good discussion and good company. Good action consists in the performance of virtuous actions. Good thought consists in thinking of the welfare of others and in thinking of God. Good discussion consists in narrating and listening to the characters of God and devotees. Good company consists in remaining established in God by holding the view I am God's and only God is mine. A human being is free to change his life for betterment, he can progress and can make himself noble. $0 He should keep company with saints and great souls. If saints and great souls are not available, he should live in the company of those strivers who are promptly engaged in the spiritual discipline. Even if such strivers are not available, he should think of attaining salvation by studying the scriptures such as the Gita and the Ramayana, and meditate on their contents. By doing so he can become a noble man. Question: What is the reason that the offspring are not good even though the conduct and sentiments of parents are very good? Answer: The main reason is the bad company which children keep. Parents were indebted to children in the previous birth, so parents have to pay their debts in this birth. Thus children trouble parents so that parents' debt may be repaid to children. Such children who are spoiled by bad company can be reformed by good company. Therefore, in spite of parents' good conduct and sentiments, if offspring are spoiled, the parents should remain pleased that they are getting free from their debt which they owe to children. Visrava belonged to the Brahmana family while his wife Kaikasi belonged to the demon family. So Ravana was born of them. Ugrasena was a righteous person, but one day a demon disguised as Ugrasena had sexual intercourse with his wife and so Karnsa was born. Question: What is the reason that the offspring are good even though the conduct of parents is not good? Answer: generally offspring inherit parents' nature. But in some cases either because of the debt the offspring have to pay back to their parents, or because of any good impression at the time of impregnation, or because of the good company of a saint, great soul, noble offspring is born. Thus Prahlada was born in the house of Hiranyakasipu. It is said about Prahlada's birth that when Hiranyakasipu's austerity was disturbed he came to meet his wife, and at the time of his wife's impregnation during their talk he uttered the name, Vishnu several times. When his wife, Kayadhu, was pregnant, Narada, keeping in mind the boy that was to be born, narrated the stories of devotion to her. So Prahlada had the impressions of devotion. As the taste of water is sweet but its taste changes when it comes in contact with the earth, it becomes different. Water of every well is different. Similarly, a man's feelings or sentiments change according to the company he keeps. Question: the soul descends from the father to the son. What does it mean? Answer: a person regards a brahmana, a member of the priest class, as his family preceptor, and similarly another person regards another brahmana who offers him the sacred thread as his preceptor. But if they lie the body, their sons are regarded as preceptors and they are honored in the same way as their fathers were honored. Plus, as a son inherits the property of his father and becomes its owner, so is the son a representative of his father, he officiates as his father. Here the term soul stands for the secondary soul, viz., the body. The body, son, is born of the body, so the son is the representative of the father in dealings, but in spiritualism, salvation, the son is no cause. Question: how to train children in order to make them noble? Answer: children generally learn by imitating others. So the parents should lead a controlled and holy life and put examples of their good conduct so that children may learn the lesson of good conduct from them and may become noble. First, the parents should set examples to children for the latter's progress, and secondly they should impart good training to them through preaching and by narrating the characters of devotees and God. Good training is that which teaches spirituality to children through their mundane dealings. The following few instances illustrate the point. When parents go out to visit someone, they say to children, "You must stay here," but children insist that they should accompany their parents. It perturbs parents and makes the children sad, and there is disquietude in the family. Therefore children should be trained by giving them advice in advance. You should not insist on going when we go to visit anyone, you should do as we ask you to do. If you give this when Arjuna, having tied the limbs of Evatama, brings him before Draupadi, she with earnest insistence requests Arjuna to set Asvadhama free and says to him, "Your preceptor Drona, from whom you have gained knowledge of the scriptures and weapons, is standing before you in the form of his son." Asvadhama Sa Bhagavan Drona Prajaropi Nivartate, Srimadbha, January 7, 1945. Advice to children 2 or 3 times a day, they will accept your advice. Then while going to someone's house, if you say to the children, "Don't insist but do as we advise you to do," they will obey you. When there is any sweetmeat or fruit or any other eatable in the house, the child insists on getting it. In the absence of eatables, he should be told 2 or 3 times in the day that any eatable should first be offered to others and then the remaining should be eaten by him. When the delicious eatable is before him and he insists on getting it, he should be told, "Dear son, those who don't insist on getting the eatables themselves but eat it, having distributed it among all the members and having offered to others, go to heaven." Then he will not insist on it. Thus whatever habit you want to inculcate among children, you should explain to them twice or thrice a day and get it accepted by them lovingly. Children should be taught good things as, "Dear son, never commit a theft, demand from the mother what you want to take even by weeping, but never steal anything. Love your younger brothers and sisters. Offer cattables to them. As Lord Rama loved his younger brother, Bharata etc. and brought them round by loving persuasion, you should also love your younger brothers and sisters and not quarrel with them. If there is any discussion, accept what they say without insisting on your point. Do domestic work as parents order. Don't waste your time, remain engaged in some useful activity. Don't lay a claim to the articles of others. Make the best possible use of the articles, and so on and so forth. If you repeat the advice 2 or 3 times a day, it leaves an impression on the hearts of children. It means that children should be given good advice both by examples and precepts. In this connection, parents should remember Lord Krishna's words, "There is naught in the 3 worlds, O Partha, Arjuna, that has not been done by me, nor anything unattained that might be attained. Still I engage in action. If ever I did not engage in action relentlessly, men would in every respect follow my path. If I did not perform action, these worlds would perish, should be the cause of confusion of species, and I should destroy these beings." Gita 3:22-24. Question: these days the school environment is not good, therefore what should be done for the education of children? Answer: children should be given education at home daily. They should be narrated such stories which explain that those children, who obeyed parents, progressed while those who disobeyed them, were spoiled. When they start reading books, they should be asked to read the characters of devotees, they should be given the advice, don't have independent relation with every child, don't mix with everyone. Come home direct from school. Keep the company of elderly people. Eat the home-prepared articles, don't eat the preparations of market because the shopkeepers aim at earning money without thinking of their ill effects on the consumers. So their preparations are not good. The preparations of market will be digested by you now because of your good power of digestion, but they will have an ill effect in future. A householder should pay more attention to the character building of children than to earning money because the earned money will be used only by children. If children are spoiled, money will spoil them more. In this connection the great men say, money need not be accumulated whether the son is dutiful or undutiful viz. If the son is dutiful, he will lack no money, but if he is undutiful, he will squander all the accumulated money. Question: should children be educated in Christian schools? Answer: no, children should not be educated in Christian schools. If they are educated in Christian schools, in spite of living in your house they will become Christians viz. Outwardly they will remain Hindus, but inwardly they will become Christians. It is a great shame on your part that Christians coming from thousands of miles can convert your children into Christians, but you can't maintain your household children to be Hindus. Protect your country by protecting your children because they are the main property of your country. Great and rich persons should run their own schools and colleges where there should be arrangement of imparting good education and maintenance of good discipline. The teachers should possess good conduct. Though such teachers of good conduct are rare, yet they can be available if efforts are made. In such schools and colleges students should be given religious education, and the scriptures such as the Gita and the Ramayana should be taught. There should be provision of compulsory religious education for at least an hour every day. Live a simple life yourself and teach the same to children. If you renounce tastes, fashions and luxuries and engage yourself in the best of pursuits, it will leave a good impression on children. There should be a temple in the house and God should be worshipped. Every member of the family should drink the ambrosia of the feet of God. There should be divine discourses and discussions. The divine name should be chanted and verses and songs pertaining to God's glory should be sung. The better you are, the better will be the children because example is better than precept. Question: what should parents do in order to arrange the marriages of their sons and daughters? Answer: the important factor is the destiny of sons and daughters, but it is the duty of parents that in selecting a bride for their son they should judge her by her good nature because she will live in the family throughout her life. She should not suffer from any deadly disease. Her mother's nature should be good. All these points should be examined as far as possible. Similarly, in selecting a bridegroom, they should see that both the bridegroom and the family are good and worthy. In the scriptures it is mentioned that there are 7 factors which should be considered while selecting a bridegroom: kulam ca silam ca vaporyasaskavidyam ca vidam ca sanathayam ca, if angandan sapta pariksya dayakanya badhe sesamakananavam. The parents should marry their daughter to the bridegroom having examined 7 qualities in him. There are: his family background, modesty, body, reputation, wealth and patronage, help and support of elders. The daughter leads a happy life if her husband and his mother are good. The daughter should be married to the husband whose house is neither too close nor too far from her own house. The reason is that if her in-laws' house is too near, there can be more quarrels, and if it is far, the daughter can't easily pay a visit to you, her parents. It means that the daughter should be married to the bridegroom in whose house she may live happily and comfortably without suffering any pain for the growth of the family. Question: is it a sin to take dowry? Answer: yes, it is a sin. Question: if it is a sin, why is it ordained by the scriptures? Answer: it is ordained in the scriptures that dowry should be given rather than accepted. There is neither glory of taking it nor it should be accepted. The reason is that it is within one's power to give dowry, but it is out of one's power to receive it. Desire is of 2 kinds: 1, just desire to gain what is one's own, but this desire is also a stumbling block to God realization. 2, unjust desire to gain what belongs to others, this desire paves the way to hells. Similarly, the desire to receive dowry leads a person to hells. Reception of insufficient dowry, more dowry or no dowry, depends on one's destiny, but the desire to lay a claim to the money if the daughter's-in-law house is too near, she will tell her sorrows to her mother. Her mother, finding herself unable to tolerate it, will tell it to the daughter's mother-in-law. So there will be quarrels among her in-laws. The daughter should not disclose her suffering to anyone. The secrets of the house should be confined to the house without disclosing them to anyone. Otherwise it will prove to be a cause of insult to her, She will have to suffer and there will prevail disquietude in the house in which she has to live day and night. Others by unfair means paves the way to hells. What a great loss and downfall it is to go to hells having received this human life. Therefore a man should at least renounce this desire of grabbing the money of others which leads to hells. In fact, money is gained according to fortune rather than desire. If it was gained according to one's desire, one would never remain poor. One's desire to gain money has neither been fulfilled nor will be fulfilled nor can be fulfilled. It will have to be renounced. If money is to be gained, it is gained easily without having a desire, but it is gained with difficulty by committing sin and injustice if one has a desire to gain it. In the Gita, Arjuna asks, dragged on by what does a man commit sin, unwillingly, as though driven by force? Lord Krishna replies, it is desire which is the root of all sins. 3:36-37. In the olden days it was a custom to distribute the money received from in-laws among people. Moreover, the parents of the bridegroom performed religious sacrifice, offered charity to the needy, offered food to brahmanas, members of the priest class, as penitence. The reason is that acceptance of the bride as charity makes a man indebted to others. But a householder has to accept a girl as charity. So he thinks that he should pay this debt by offering his daughter as charity to someone else. We have noticed that those brahmanas, members of the priest class, who accept a cow etc., as charity according to the scriptural ordinance, perform religious sacrifice or recite the Gayatri meter, a Vedic meter repeated by the twice-born in morning and evening devotee, as penitence. When it is a sin to take others' money, it is certainly a sin to accept dowry. If dowry is to be accepted, it should be accepted in order to fulfill the desire of the person who gives it and to please him. If a person has no desire in the least to take dowry and he takes a little in order to please the giver only, his taking it is like offering it to others. 4. Advice pertaining to women. Question: can a girl, bride, herself choose her husband? Answer: in the scriptures there is mention of girls who chose their husbands themselves, but they had to suffer. Sita, Draupadi and Damayanti etc. Are the examples. These days the brides who choose their husbands of their own accord do not remain happy. They suffer and go astray. The bride who chooses her husband has to shoulder the responsibility herself. But when the marriage of the daughter is arranged by her well-wisher, father, the responsibility is shouldered by him. If the daughter married by her father commits a minor mistake, it will be excused. But the error of the bride who chooses her husband of her own accord will not be excused. As a son born of parents does not incur so much sin if he does not serve his parents, as the adopted son who does not serve the parents incurs because the former is born of them, he has not established his affinity himself for them while the latter has accepted his affinity for parents himself. Similarly, a servant who commits a mistake is not excused because he has accepted the service himself. But the kind master can excuse him though he does not deserve it. In the same way, it is the special responsibility of a disciple to obey his preceptor because he himself has accepted the disciple-preceptor relationship. If he does not obey his preceptor, slights him or censures him, he has to suffer for his offense. God cannot forgive such a disciple. If God becomes angry with a disciple, his preceptor can forgive him. But if the preceptor gets angry, even God cannot forgive him. Therefore the bride who herself chooses her husband has to shoulder special responsibility. Question: is it proper on the part of a girl to lead her life in devotion to God instead of getting married? Answer: it is not proper for a girl to remain unmarried, because it is very difficult for her to sustain her life by remaining independent, without getting married. It is okay so long as her parents remain alive. But after their death, generally her brothers, being henpecked, don't respect her, they rather slight her and look down upon her. Her brothers' wives also slight her. Thus the girl feels that she has to depend on others. Therefore it is better to get married. We have seen such couples who took an oath to lead a pious life in adoration, devotion, to God without having husband-wife relationship, and they have implemented it. Though it is difficult in the world of today to find such young men who get married only for adoration to God, yet it is not impossible. There are such rare cases as that of Mirabai, who devoted herself to adoration since her childhood. But such are the cases of sentiments rather than ordinance. But in this sentiment a girl has to face difficulties. Mirabai also faced several difficulties, but she overcame all difficulties by having a firm faith in God. Such firm faith is rare indeed. There is no ordinance for such a girl who has a firm faith whether she gets married or no. It means that the person who has a firm faith in God will become noble wheresoever he or she may live. Question: is it proper on the part of women to become ascetics? Answer: a man is authorized to renounce the household life in order to be engaged in adoration, devotion, to God if he becomes dispassionate, but we have not come across such an ordinance for women, so it is not proper for a woman to lead an ascetic life. She should perform her duty by living in the house. It is her glory if she leads a household life with renunciation and self-control. In fact, there is glory of renunciation and dispassion rather than of becoming an ascetic. A woman who is not a slave to mundane objects from her heart, is an ascetic and a renouncer even while leading a household life. Question: which woman is called a pativrata, a sadhvi and a sati? Answer: according to the dictionary, the three terms mean that woman who is chaste and is faithful to her husband. But if the three terms are distinguished, a pativrata is she who is faithful to her husband while he lives alive, a sadhvi is she who remains chaste after the death of her husband, while a sati is she who, having chastity and firm affinity for her husband, at his death burns herself on his funeral pyre. Question: is sati pratha, viz., the tradition of the wife being cremated with the dead body of the husband on the funeral pyre, proper or improper? Answer: a wife's cremation with the dead body of her husband on the funeral pyre is not a tradition. She, in whose mind truth and enthusiasm come, burns even without fire, and she does not suffer any pain while she burns. This is not a tradition that she should do so, but this is her truth, righteousness and faith in scriptural decorum. There is a village named Iknor in district Hardoi. There a girl was staying in the house of her maternal grandfather. Her husband was ill and he died. She received the message of her husband's death. She asked her maternal uncle, if chaste Sulokane had not found the head of her husband, what would she have done? Her maternal uncle replied, I don't know. She said, Anel, I shall cremate my body. Her maternal uncle said, daughter, don't do so. She said, don't do it, but it happens. She burned a lamp and put her finger on its flame. Her finger began to burn like a candle. She again asked her maternal uncle, do you allow me to cremate my body or not? If you don't allow me, your house will be burned to ashes. The maternal uncle said, okay, do as you wish. She extinguished the fire of the burning finger by rubbing it against the wall and stood under the peepala tree outside the house. There she requested her maternal uncle to offer her firewood. Her maternal uncle refused to give her either firewood or fire. The people of that village gathered there. She prayed to Sun God with folded hands, O Lord, give me fire. As soon as she prayed, people saw that she was burnt standing there. The leaves of the peepala tree were also burnt with that fire. When an inquiry was made, the Mohammedans of that village told that they were eyewitnesses. Saint Karapatriji went there and he himself saw that there were black lines on the wall where she had extinguished the fire of her burning finger by rubbing it against the wall, and he also saw the burned leaves of that peepala tree. It means that it is not a tradition. He is her own religious enthusiasm. On this topic, Prabhupada Brahmakariji has written a book whose title is Sati Dharma Hindi Dharma Ki Rita Hai. Cremation of a wife with her husband's dead body is the backbone of Hindu religion. It should be studied. Question: what type of sentiments and conduct does a chaste wife possess? Answer: there is predominance of religious feelings in her, and so she serves her husband with her body and mind. She identifies her mind with her husband's and has no separate identity. Her mind remains attracted towards her husband. It is her chastity which protects her. Generally, a chaste wife has her marriage relationship only with the husband of her previous life. Sometimes it happens that because of her good education and good company in her childhood, she inculcates good feelings, and being married she becomes chaste. Question: what are the marks of a chaste wife? Answer: in the house of a chaste wife, members live peacefully and all of them perform their duty righteously. Her offspring are noble and obedient to parents. Her sentiments leave a good impression on her neighbors and persons of that locality. Generally, the ill feelings of those who behold her are destroyed. But this rule is not always applicable, because by the publisher of this book is Samkirtana Bhavana, Dharmika Trust, Pradhasinapura, Chunsi, Allahabad. Beholding her, one's own internal good feelings are aroused. He who has no good feelings and impressions is not much influenced by her. As a hunter released Damayanti from the mouth of a python, but he was enchanted by her beauty, and ill feeling, of sex, was born in him, she called down a curse upon him and he was reduced to ashes. Yudhishthira was a very good and righteous person, but Duryodhana was not impressed by him. Question: can chastity be observed in modern times? Answer: there is no obstacle to the observance of chastity in the modern times. All people are ever free in following the virtuous conduct. The scriptures, righteousness and decorum are obstacles to those actions which are against righteousness. Question: is it advisable for a husband to divorce his wife? Answer: if the wife is good and modest but has a dark complexion and quarrels with her mother-in-law and does not obey her, the mother asks her son to divorce his wife. If the son under these circumstances divorces his wife, he commits a deadly sin and does a great injustice to her. It will lead him to infernal hells. In these days several young men divorce their wives doubting chastity. They should think whether they are perfectly chaste and pure. Thus the wife should never be divorced. Question: Should the wife who is depraved and adulterous be divorced? Answer: as far as possible in the modern times such a wife should not be divorced. The husband according to his power should rule her and try to reform her. If he has to punish her, he should not talk to her and should not eat the food cooked by her. Question: half of the reward of virtuous actions performed by the husband goes to the wife and half of the sin committed by the wife to the husband. Why? Answer: the wife has renounced her parents, brothers, wives, other members including the house, and renunciation involves reward, virtue. She, having renounced her lineage even, has identified her mind with the mind of her husband. So she deserves half reward of her husband's virtuous actions. If her husband performs morning, evening devotions to God and recites Gayatri meter, a Vedic meter repeated by every twice born at his sanjavis, morning and evening devotions, his half reward for his devotion goes to her. Therefore a husband wears two sacred threads, one for himself and one for his wife. The education of a girl initially depends on her parents and brothers, and after marriage on her husband. If the husband does not impart her good training, teachings, and she commits sin, her husband shares half of her sin. If the husband imparts good training, teachings, but the wife does not obey her husband, he does not share half of her sin because she has shouldered her responsibility herself. But if she obeys her husband and remains under his control, she shares half of the reward of his virtuous actions. But if she does not obey him, she does not share half of his reward. Question: what should the woman, who is abducted by heretics, do? Answer: as far as possible she should try to be free from their clutches and should escape if she gets an opportunity to do so. If she finds herself helpless, she should invoke God for help. God somehow or the other will release her. Once some heretics were traveling by train by abducting a woman, stuffing her mouth with cloth, tying her hands at her back and covering her by veil. At Lucknow station, when the TTE came there to check the tickets, she pressed his foot with her foot. He thought why she pressed his foot, there should be some mystery in it. He called the Rathway police. The police examined the case, released her, and the culprits were caught. Similarly, a heretic in Noakhali abducted a woman. She invoked God. In the meanwhile another heretic came there and had challenged the abduction by declaring that he would make her his wife. Over this issue both of them had a mortal fight and both of them died. Thus she was protected. Question: what is the duty of the husband whose wife has been abducted by heretics? Answer: if the husband has power to release her and she is willing to come back, she should be brought back home. The reason is that she has been tortured for the depraved act. So though she has not been totally faithful to her husband, yet she has not lost her righteousness, virtue. No one can deviate a person from the righteous path by force. If anyone puts beef into the mouth of a vegetarian by force, he can't deviate him from the righteous path. Therefore, if that abducted woman does not derive sexual pleasure, her chastity has not been lost. If she comes back, she should be sanctified by the recitation of the verses of the Gita, the Ramayana and the Bhagavad Gita etc. And by bathing her with the holy water of the Ganges. After doing all this, when she menstruates, she will be totally sanctified, Rajasa Sudayat Nari. Sage Jamadagni's wife named Renuka brought water and a piece of cloth every day because of the power of her chastity. One day she saw bright and beautiful hair like gold on the bank of the river. She thought how handsome the man would be whose hair was so beautiful. By thinking so, her righteousness, virtue, was lost and she could not as usual bring water and the piece of cloth. Indra, the lord of gods disguised as sage Gautama, had sexual intercourse with Ahulya, but her righteousness was not lost, though she could not remain faithful only to her husband. Though her husband being angry turned her into a stone, yet Lord Rama redeemed her because she was firm in righteousness. Sri Jayadayala Goyandaka paid special attention to purity and holiness. He also declared that the women who had been raped by heretics had not lost their righteousness. So they should be taken back to the Hindu Dharma if they were willing, and they should be sanctified by the recitation of the Gita, the Ramayana etc. and by bathing them in the holy water of the Ganges. He also said that if the follower of any other religion wanted to adopt the Hindu Dharma, he should be allowed to adopt it, and according to the custom of Hindu Dharma he could chant God's name, worship him, meditate on him and recite the sacred texts at day. Question: if a wife of her own accord runs with someone else and then returns, what should her husband do? Answer: he should not consider her his wife and should not behave towards her like a husband. As Saint Kabaji's wife, leaving her husband, went to someone else and there she gave birth to a child also. But her new husband died and it became difficult for her to sustain her life. So she again came to Saint Kabaji. Saint Kabaji made arrangement of food, water and clothes etc. for her, but did not consider her his wife. Question: what should the wife do if her husband is depraved? Answer: The wife should not renounce or deprave a husband but should persuade him to follow the right path by remaining faithful to him as Mandodari persuaded her husband, Ravana, without abandoning him. At the time of marriage both the husband and the wife are bound by words. 50. The wife has a right to advise her husband and tell him what she feels proper. Gandhari was so much faithful to her husband that she covered her eyes with a piece of cloth when she heard that her would-be husband was blind. She did not want to derive any pleasure with her eyes which her husband was deprived of. But when there was a need, she also persuaded her husband not to act according to Duryodhana's desire, otherwise the family would be destroyed. She gave such advice several times but her husband, Dhritarashtra, never followed her advice. The result was that the family was destroyed. It means that a wife has a right to give good advice to her husband. It is mentioned in the scriptures that the chaste wife who serves her husband with her body and mind and performs her duty, after her death goes to the world of her husband, i.e., to her husband. If the husband is immoral, he goes to hell, so according to the scriptures the chaste wife should go to hell, but the chaste wife can't go to hell because she has acted according to the ordinance of the scriptures, God and saints, and has been faithful to her husband. Therefore, by her power of chastity she will lead her husband to salvation, viz., to the world of Gad. It means that her husband will go to the same world to which she will go. Thus the person who performs his duty leads others to salvation. Question: what should the wife do if her husband persuades her for adultery? Answer: a husband is not authorized to do so because his wife's father has offered her as charity to her husband only. He who is given food or clothes as charity can give them to others. But he who has accepted the wife as charity can't give her to anyone else. If he does so, he incurs a deadly sin. In such circumstances she should not obey her husband at all. She should frankly say to her husband that he has no right to offer her to anyone else because her father has offered her only to him. In this case, if she disobeys her husband, she incurs no sin. The reason is that it is an injustice on the part of a husband to give such an order to his wife. Such sort of obedience encourages injustice which is not justified for anyone. Secondly, if she obeys her husband in such an unrighteous act, it will lead her husband to hells. Therefore the wife should not carry out such an order of her husband which may lead the husband to hells. If the husband himself has sexual intercourse with his wife against the scriptural ordinance, he does injustice and commits a sin. The fulfillment of the desire which is in accordance with righteousness is justified, Gita 7:11, therefore it involves no flaw, no sin. But it is injustice to use her arbitrarily against righteousness. A man should act according to the ordinance of the scriptures, Gita 16:24. Question: what should the wife do if her husband is a drunkard and a non-vegetarian? Answer: the wife should persuade her husband that he should not perform such prohibited actions. If her husband does not follow her advice, she is helpless, but it is her right and duty to check him from forbidden conduct. Moreover, she should take only pure eatables. Question: what should the wife do if her husband beats her and troubles her? Answer: the wife should think that she is paying her debt of her previous life and thus her sins are being destroyed and she is becoming pure. When her parents come to know this, they can take her to their own house because they have not given their daughter to face this sort of bad behavior. Question: what should she do if her parents don't take her to their own house? Answer: under such circumstances what can a helpless wife do? She should reap the fruit of her past actions. She should patiently bear the beatings of her husband with patience. By bearing them she will be free from her sins and it is possible that her husband may start loving her. If she is unable to bear the beatings of her husband, she should live separate from her husband and lead a fearless life by earning her own livelihood and worshipping God. A husband should never beat his wife. Sikandi was born only in order to kill Bhisma. But when he came in front of Bhisma, Bhisma stopped shooting arrows. The reason was that Sikandi in the previous birth was a woman and again he was born a female, but afterwards he became a male. Therefore Bhisma considered him a woman and did not attack him. Adversity is fruit of some sin. So in adversity a person by adoring God enthusiastically is doubly benefited. First the sins are destroyed and secondly by invoking God, the person develops faith in Him. So women should not lose courage in the face of adversity. In the face of adversity a person should not even think of committing suicide because a person incurs a deadly sin by committing suicide. Suicide involves as much sin as murder involves. A person thinks that by committing suicide he will be free from sorrows and be happy. But it is a blunder on his part because instead of being free from the sins of the past he has added one more sin. Those who tried to commit suicide but were saved, have said that a person has to bear a lot of pain while committing suicide and he repents that it would have been better if he had not tried to commit such a crime. Such persons who commit suicide become ghosts and evil spirits and remain hungry and thirsty and have to suffer a lot. It means that such persons meet with a very evil destiny. Question: if the husband divorces his wife, what should she do? Answer: She should live with her parents. If it is not possible, she should take a house on rent in the neighborhood of her in-laws' parents, and live there by leading a self-controlled and virtuous life. She should devote herself to the performance of her duty and to adoration, devotion, to God. She should sustain her life by whatsoever she receives from her father or in-laws. If she has no money or support, she should start any handicraft such as spinning, sewing and knitting etc., at home in order to maintain herself. Though such work involves difficulty, yet austerity involves difficulty rather than ease. This sort of austerity will enhance spiritual vigor and purify the heart. Her parents, brothers and their wives should pay special attention to her in order to rear her, because it involves Irkat virtue, as the sister or the daughter is an idol of righteousness. In the Manasa, Lord Rama declares that in adversity a person should be loved 100 times more. Manasa, Kiskinda. 7/3. So these words should be translated into practice in the case of a sister or a daughter. If they cannot do so, she should think, will God, who brings up beasts and birds, not bring me up? How can I remain an orphan in the presence of God, who is the master of all? By holding this view firmly, by depending on God, she should remain free from fear, sorrow, worry and doubt. There was a widow who had nothing. Her in-laws grabbed even her ornaments. She said, I am not worried at all because, have 2 hands to fill and 1 empty belly. Girls should learn spinning, sewing, knitting etc., and should receive education. Being married, she should serve her husband to the best of her power but should depend only on God. It is a fact that her real support is neither her husband, nor son, nor even her body but only God. So if her husband divorces her, she should not get perturbed. In this connection, if she has committed an error, she should immediately rectify it. But if she has not committed any error, she should remain fearless. A man feels guilty only when his sentiments and conduct are not good, otherwise why should he feel guilty? So a person having always pure sentiments and conduct should go on worshipping God and should not be worried at all by depending on Him. The youths of today should not divorce their wives, as it is a deadly sin and a great injustice, and it leads them to deadly hells. Question: Can a man have a second wife? Answer: A man can have a second wife for an issue in order to be free from the debt which he owes to manes according to the ordinance of the scriptures, if there is no issue from the first wife. But he can't have a second wife for mundane pleasures, because this human body does not aim at pleasures at all. He should get remarried only with the consent of his first wife, and the first wife should allow him to get remarried so that he may be free from his debt which he owes to manes. After having the second wife, the husband should protect the rights of his first wife, and instead of slighting her, he and his second wife both should honor her by regarding her as senior. If the wife dies after giving birth to an issue, her husband need not get married because he has become free from his debt which he owed to manes. But he, whose desire for pleasures has not been wiped out, can get remarried, because if he does not get remarried, he will indulge in adultery and go to prostitutes and will incur a deadly sin. Therefore, in order to escape the sin and maintain the decorum, he should get remarried according to the ordinance of the scriptures. Question: In ancient days there was the custom among kings to have several wives. Was it proper? Answer: Such custom of polygamy among kings for mundane pleasures was not proper. Kingship does not make a man model. Only those kings who performed their duty virtuously according to the ordinance of the scriptures are ideal, model. In fact, polygamy is neither necessary nor is something of a high standard. The aim of human life is to realize God rather than to get married. The union of the male and the female is found in all species, moving or unmoving from the gods to the ghosts and evil spirits. So this is not important. But the opportunity of God realization is available only in human life. A human being is qualified and authorized to realize God. It is his birthright. Marriage is ordained for those weaklings who can't renounce desire for pleasures through discrimination. Such persons are allowed to enter the household life in order to have an aversion to pleasures and to become dispassionate. Such types of persons remain indebted to manes and they have responsibility to run the family succession. But those who are celibates and devotees have no such responsibility. As a man has to pay income tax on income and sale tax on commodities, so has a man to pay debt to the manes only if he has not wiped out his desire for pleasures. He who is free from desire of pleasure is not indebted to anyone whatsoever discipline of action, of knowledge or devotion he may follow. Question: Why can a woman not get remarried? Answer: When once a girl is given away in marriage as charity by her parents, she does not remain a virgin anymore. So how can she be offered as charity to anyone else? It is beastliness to remarry her. Secondly, she need not be remarried like a man, because a man is remarried in order to pay his debt to manes, while a woman is not indebted to manes. From all the four views, scriptural, religious, physical and practical, it is improper for a woman to get remarried. From the scriptural point of view, she is not allowed to get remarried according to the ordinance of the scriptures. From the religious point of view, a woman has not to pay any debt to manes. From physical viewpoint, she possesses morale and power to control her sexual desire. From practical point of view, the question arises, where will the previous offspring go? Who will bring them up? The reason is that her new husband will not accept her offspring which she has already got. Therefore a woman should lead a self-controlled life and observe continence without getting remarried. In the scriptures it has been mentioned that even a woman who has a few offspring, 5 or 7, meets with a good destiny like that of a celibate if she leads a pious and self-controlled life after the death of her husband. Then there is no doubt that the woman who observes celibacy after the death of her husband will meet with the same destiny as the woman who has ever been a celibate. Question: what should a woman do if she becomes a widow in her youth? Answer: she should behave with decorum and should not act against righteousness. She should follow the standard set by Mother Kunt during her widowhood. A woman gets courage to perform her duty by remembering Mother Kunti. She should not lose her character. If she can't maintain her character, instead of indulging in adultery here and there, she should accept her affinity for a person and live under his protection. Though it is neither sanctioned by the scriptures nor is appropriate, yet it is better to do so than wandering here and there for adultery like a bitch from door to door. The reason is that her adultery disgraces both the families, destroys decorum and leads her to hells after her death. Question: in these days women demand equal rights like men. Is it proper? Answer: no, it is not proper. In fact, a woman has not the right of equality with man, but she has a privilege. The reason is that she comes to her husband's house having renounced her parents etc. She is called the mistress and the queen of the house. It is her husband who has a privilege outside the house. As a chariot moves with 2 wheels which are kept apart, so do the household affairs run smoothly with their separate rights. If the 2 wheels of the chariot are joined together, it can't be driven smoothly. Similarly, if a woman has the right of equality with man, the household affairs can't run smoothly. If both of them have equal rights, how will a man like a woman conceive? Therefore right of equality in fact means the separate rights of the two, and this is real freedom for both of them. The system of the division of rights between the woman and the man is a noble one. In fact, it is ignorance or folly which impels a woman to have a desire for the right of equality with man. A wise person is he or she who is satisfied with less rights and more duties. Right is a slave to duty, but duty is not a slave to right. If a person performs his/her duty scrupulously, the worldly people, saints, great souls, the scriptures and God give him her rights. The desire for rights is the root of the cycle of birth and death of a man, and it leads him to hells. We have seen that if the dog of a street goes to another street, its dog runs after the first dog to bite it. Both of them fight. If the former dog falls down and surrenders itself to the latter dog, by raising its leg, the latter one feels pleased over its victory. The reason is that the latter one thinks that it has a right over that street while the former does not think, and so it yields. Therefore the fight comes to an end. It proves that even dogs hanker after rights. Is it human to hanker after rights like dogs? 'Tis only the man of mean mentality who has a desire for more rights. The noble men are those who perform their duty enthusiastically and scrupulously. Such type of people by performing their duty become entitled to more rights. In fact, women don't have inadequate rights. They are the mistresses of the house. All the members of the house who perform their duties outside depend on women for domestic affairs. Women support all the members of the family, serve and sustain them. So they have more rights. But when they deviate from their duty, they have a desire to have more rights. Question: what is the harm if women also serve in these days of dearness? Answer: a woman has a soft heart. So she cannot tolerate the pain, scolding and humiliation etc., which service involves. She starts shedding tears in unfavorable circumstances. It does not make any difference if you call service either slavery or meanness. A man can tolerate slavery but a woman can't. So men are responsible for service, farming and business etc., while women are responsible for household affairs. Therefore it is the prestige and honor of women to do domestic work, while it is a disgrace to them if they serve outside. If she serves maintaining her prestige, there is no harm, viz., she can earn her livelihood by working in the house. She can adopt such means of living as knitting sweaters, stitching clothes, embroidery and decorating portraits of God etc. By doing such work she will not be a slave to anyone and will not be dependent on anyone. 5. Solution to strifes and quarrels. Question: X. What is the root of quarrels, wrangles and disquietude in the family? Answer: self-interest is the root of quarrels, wrangles and disquietude in the family. Everyone wants his desire to be fulfilled, longs for favorable circumstances, wants to lead a comfortable and luxurious life, longs for his own glory and has an axe to grind. As dogs play together very lovingly but start quarreling as soon as they get a piece of bread, viz., they quarrel for their selfish motive, So do human beings quarrel. He who has a longing for his own comfort is an individual rather than a member of a family. A member of a family is he who thinks of the welfare of all the members, old, young and of equal age, and does good to them. Therefore he who instead of wrangles wants quietude in the family, should think of the duty of his own and the rights of others. Should perform his duty and do good to others, honor others and provide comforts to others. Question: What should parents do if two brothers quarrel together? Answer: Parents should do justice to both of them. They should say to the younger son, "You should follow the example of Bharata, Lakshmana and Satruna and behave towards your elder brother as they behave towards Rama. Similarly you should show the same behavior towards your elder brother as Bhima and Arjuna showed towards Yudhishthira." In the same way they should say to the elder brother, "You should follow the examples of Rama plus and Yudhishthira in your dealings with your younger brothers." Question: What should parents do if there is a quarrel between the sister and the brother? Ayam nijaparo vediganandlagasatasamudira kantanam tu vasudhava kutambakam. This is one's own and this is of someone else. Only the narrow-minded persons think so. For the broad-minded, generous people, the entire universe is like one's own family. Yen Vidi the Artisic, Ramayana Darya Brit Prima in the Tattvakantamani part. I meditate on it. Answer: Parents should favor the daughter because she has to live in that house for a short time and then she will go to her husband's house. She deserves charity and honor. The son is the master of the house and he will ever remain there. The parents should tell him, in loneliness, "Dear son, don't slight your sister, she will not live here, she will go to her house while you are the master of this house." A sister should not have any expectation of her brother. She should accept less than she is offered by her brother, thinking that the articles offered by her brother will not serve much purpose. They will have to depend on their own resources. Question: What is the duty of parents if there is a quarrel between their son and daughter-in-law? Answer: Parents should tell them, "We shall not live for a long time in this house, both of you are the owners of this house. You are to shoulder the responsibility of this family. If you quarrel together, who will bring up this family?" 7. In loneliness they should advise the son, "Your wife has renounced her parents for you. You have renounced nothing, you are an heir to the property of your father. So it is your main duty to provide all necessities for her and to please her with your body, mind and wealth. But remember that you are her husband, don't be a slave to her. Being detached, work for her welfare. It is the duty of a human being to do good to all beings. What will you do if you don't do good even to your wife?" Similarly they should preach to their daughter-in-law, "Daughter, you have renounced your parents, brothers and other kith and kin for your husband. What will you do if you can't please and serve him? How shameful it is for you if you nullify so much of sacrifice. You have to perform only one duty of being faithful to your husband. The only duty of a wife is to be faithful with her body, words and mind to her husband. Manasa, Aranya. 5/4. SLL is as virtuous slow provide food to a sister, a daughter or a sister's daughter as idas to a brahmana, a member of the priest class. Question: What should parents do if their daughter and daughter-in-law quarrel with each other? Answer: The mother should preach to the daughter, "Dear daughter, your brother's wife has the modern influence. If she utters any undesirable words, you should respect her by regarding her as older than you. She is the mistress of the house, so you should respect her more than me. If you respect me less, I shall not be displeased because I am attached to you as you are my daughter." The mother should give advice to her daughter-in-law that she should respect her husband's sister more than she respects any other member because she is like a guest. Moreover, she should love her children more than other children. Plus this is a rule that the mother gets pleased if her children are pleased. Thus she should please her. This sort of behavior leads a person to salvation. If the mother on account of her attachment to her daughter wants to offer anything to her, she should not accept it. She should say to her mother, "I shall accept this offer only if my brother's wife gives it to me. If you give it to me, she will feel hurt and she will quarrel with you. I have not come here to cause this wrangle. Moreover, if we take from you, I'll receive it for a short time only. But if I receive from her, I shall receive it for a longer time." So from different viewpoints, of renunciation, of practical life and of self-interest, it is better to take it from her only. Question: What is the duty of younger brothers if their elder brother quarrels with parents? Answer: The younger brothers bowing down to the feet of the elder brother should imploringly say to him, "Respected brother, if you behave in this way, who will set a good example to us? Therefore be kind to us and behave towards the parents in the best possible way. By doing so, you will be doubly benefited. First, your behavior will leave the mistress of the house should love her husband's sister's children the most. Then she should love the children of her husband's younger brother and then of her husband's elder brother. Afterwards she should love the children of her mother-in-law and finally she should love her own children. A good impression on the members of the family and the society, and secondly we shall ape you by which you will gain spiritual reward. Therefore your conduct should be ideal. We can only request you because you are just like our father. Question: What is the duty of the elder brother if younger brothers quarrel with parents? Answer: The older brother should preach, "Dear younger brothers, you and I are boys while our parents are respectable and adorable for us. By their grace we have received this human body by which we can realize God. We can never be free from our debt which we owe to them. But if we act according to them and please them, we can be excused from our debt. We cannot be free from our debt to them even if they are furnished with shoes made of the skin of our bodies, because these bodies are also theirs. By doing so we offer their own possessions to them, we don't give anything of our own. It is our mistake to assume their possessions as ours. They have a full claim over us and so they are free to have any kind of dealings with us according to their own sweet will." Question: What is the duty of a brother if a sister quarrels with parents? Answer: The brother should favor justice and while doing so he should favor his sister and should say to the parents that the sister has come as a guest. So she should be loved. But if the sister is unjust, the brother in loneliness should tell her, "Sister, there is glory of love rather than of wrangles." Parents are respectable. So all of us should respect them. Why should we dishonor them for petty things? Degree question: What is the duty of the elder brother if his younger brother quarrels with his elder brother's wife? Answer: The elder brother should threaten the younger brother by saying, "What are you doing?" From the viewpoint of the scriptures, elder brother's wife is just like mother. Study the characters of Lakes Mana, Bharata and Satruna again and again, notice their behavior towards Sita and meditate on those characters. By doing so, your feelings and intellect will be purified. Question: What should the elder and the younger brothers do if their wives quarrel with each other? Answer: Each of the brothers should give advice to his own wife. The younger brother should say to his wife, "You should regard my elder brother as your father and his wife as your mother and accordingly you should pay your respect to them." The elder brother should say to his wife, "For you my younger brother is just like your son and his wife just like your daughter, so you should love them. Being elderly you should forgive her for her mistakes." How will you be entitled for seniority if you don't have power of toleration? You'll be superior to her only if you tolerate what she says and also love her. Finally, the angry person is a loser while he who tolerates the angry words of others patiently is the winner. But the brothers should be cautious lest they themselves should indulge in wrangles. Women have less power of toleration, so brothers should be cautious. If they can't live peacefully in the joint family, they should live separately in order to maintain love in the family. There is no use of their living separately if they continue quarreling. So the purpose of living either jointly or separately is to maintain love. When they separate, they should not quarrel over the division of property etc. The younger brother should accept the share which is given to him by the elder brother, while the elder brother should give him more than his share because being younger he deserves his affection. But if the younger brother thinks that act of his elder brother is not justified, elder brother should act according to the wish of his younger brother instead of his own. Renunciation is very valuable. It is a blunder to have attachment or aversion to petty things because the material things will remain here while attachment and aversion will accompany you to the next life. Therefore a person should ever be on the alert and should never desecrate his heart. Question: What should brothers do if their sons quarrel together? Answer: As far as possible a brother instead of favoring his own son should favor his brother's son. If the brother's son has done something unjust, he should peacefully explain it to him and make him understand his injustice. It means that the brothers should renounce their selfishness and pride and should have good dealings with all the members. Question: What is the duty of the young man if his mother and wife quarrel with each other? Answer: In such circumstances the young man finds himself in a dilemma. If he sides with his mother, his wife starts weeping, and if he sides with his wife, his mother feels sad that she has no claim on him, only his wife has a full claim on him. In such circumstances he should honor his mother specially, should side with her and should advise his wife in loneliness. No one is more honorable and adorable to us than my mother, no one is a better well-wisher for both of us than she is. She may use harsh words and be outspoken in her remarks, yet she instead of thinking ill of you, always thinks of your welfare from her heart. If you want to please me, you should please my mother. He being henpecked should not indulge in wrangles, fights and malice. It is a deadly sin if he slights and insults his mother and sister etc. Being persuaded by his wife, he in loneliness should imploringly say to his mother, "Mother, this poor girl having renounced her parents and family has come here, therefore only you can love her here besides you who will hear her grievances 7? You are her mother. You should bear with her if her dealings with you are unfavorable. Where will she go if both of us are not considerate to her? Therefore, kindly excuse her. In my childhood, passed stool and urine on your lap several times but you never grew angry by regarding me as your fragment, you rather excused me without considering it an offense. Similarly, you should excuse her by regarding her as your fragment. As the tongue does not get angry with the teeth being bitten by them and does not regard them as ill's enemies, so should you not feel angry with her even if she by chance does something wrong to you, because she is your fragment. As I am your fragment, so is she, being my fragment, your fragment. Question: what should the husband, father-in-law, do if the wife and daughter-in-law quarrel with each other? Answer: the husband should threaten his wife and should give assurance to his daughter-in-law that he will advise her mother-in-law not to quarrel. He should advise his wife in loneliness, look, you are her mother. She has come to her house having renounced her parents and family. Therefore it is your duty to rear and love her like your daughter. To whom, except you, will she tell her grievances? On whom will she depend? He should advise his daughter-in-law, dear daughter, whatever your mother-in-law does for your welfare only. Since she gives birth to the son, she expects that her son's wife will come and obey and serve her. How can such a mother-in-law do an ill to her daughter-in-law? It is because of childishness that you feel ill of what your mother-in-law says and you feel that it is undesirable. You have come here having renounced your parents, etc. Can you not please even your mother-in-law? How long will she live? You are the mistress of the house. If noble persons come to know about the quarrel, they will blame you only because if elderly and children quarrel, the blame goes to the children rather than to the elderly people. Therefore, keeping all these points in mind, you should improve your behavior so that your mother-in-law may not feel it. If sometimes your dealings happen to be bitter, you should beg her pardon by weeping and bowing to her feet. This will leave a good impression on your mother-in-law and will grace the domestic life. Why do you become an instrument for feud and fractions in the family? Obey your elders and bow to them in the morning and evening. Don't argue with your mother-in-law when she is angry. When she becomes quick, tell her with patience what you feel. She may or may not agree with you, but you will not be at fault. Question: what is the duty of the son if father and mother quarrel with each other? Answer: as far as possible the son should side with his mother, but the father should not know this fact that his son is siding with his mother. He should say to his father, "Father, you are the master of the house. My mother will express her feelings only to you. Who else will pay attention to her?" You should keep your promise which you made in the presence of fire and Brahmana, a member of the priest class, at the marriage ceremony. Without paying attention to the duty of my mother, you should perform your duty. If you observe decorum, my life as well as my mother's life will improve here as well hereafter, otherwise where shall both of us go? What will be our condition without you? I am not giving Vo advice, but I am only requesting Vo. You are requested to forgive me if I say anything improper because you are elder to me. The elderly people should forgive the younger ones for their mischiefs. Bragyu pitch Lord Vishnu, but Lord Vishnu's glory instead of decreasing increased. So think over it, have no right to advise you, you know everything yourself. In order to avoid wrangles in the family, it is the duty of every member that he or she by renouncing his/her own right should protect the rights of other members. Every person wants to gain respect and honor, therefore he or she should offer respect and honor to others. Question: if a mother siding with her son harasses his wife, what should she, the wife, do? Answer: she should think that her husband and his mother are the owners of the house while she has come from other house. So she should please them without thinking what they say and do. She without having malice should have good dealings with her mother-in-law. She should safeguard her virtuous feelings and should not desecrate them. She should pray to God, "O Lord, offer good sense to them while offer the power of toleration to me." Question: what should the woman do if her husband and her father-in-law quarrel with each other? Answer: it is her duty to advise her husband by saying, "All the possessions here belong to your father. Even your mother has been brought here by your father. All the wealth and property etc. have been earned by him. So we should respect him and obey him in every way. It is justice, righteousness and your duty to obey him. You are automatically an heir to his property without any legal formality. So you should carry out all his orders. You should always respect him with your body, mind and speech. If he out of anger uses harsh words for you, you should think that he is the best well-wisher for you. So you should never hurt his feelings. Even if, say something improper, without paying heed to me, you should honor his words. Question: what should a woman do if her husband and son quarrel with each other? Answer: the woman should side with her husband and should give advice to her son by saying, "Dear son, whatever your father says or does is for your welfare only. He himself can not do hil toryo you nor can tolerate by others." Keeping this in mind, you should ever remain prompt in serving your father. You should respect your father more than me because he is our master. I shall not get angry if you don't respect me properly, but you should not displease your father. Also want to please him, and it is also your duty to please him. Question: what is the duty of the man if his wife and son quarrel with each other? Answer: the father should advise his son by saying, "Son, It is your special duty to please your mother. Of all the relations, mother holds the highest rank. Being henpecked, you should not hurt the feelings of your mother. He should say to his wife, "You suffered a lot during pregnancy, while giving birth to him and ficting him. You never became angry while he passed urine and stool on your lap, but you washed your dirty clothes happily and enthusiastically. Now if he speaks harsh words, you should forgive him by regarding him as your own because you are his mother. A son can be bad or unworthy, but a mother cannot be unworthy." Question: how to maintain love, happiness and quietude in the family? Answer: there are obstacles and calamities in the family when a man forgets his aims. If he keeps his aim clean that he has to progress spiritually whatsoever may happen, he does not care for prosperity or adversity, and he does not find it difficult to renounce his selfishness and pride. Renunciation of selfishness and pride is no obstacle to his dealings. There are impediments in his dealings only when he feels proud, wishes his desire to be fulfilled and has some selfish motive. When he thinks how to do good to other members, how to lead them to benediction, how to honor and comfort them, and translates his thoughts into practice, all the members of the family become happy. Sometimes a member even becomes displeased. His displeasure will not persist, because after a proper thought he will realize that whatever has been done is for his welfare only. As a boy having an inclination to games and sports etc. Dislikes studies, but studies bear a good fruit. Similarly, if a person by mistake feels otherwise, he may not understand it at that time, but he will certainly understand it in due course. If he does not understand it even then, we shall feel satisfied that our intention and conduct are good and we think of his welfare. Moreover, we shall have an inner strength that our point is true and solid. If members of the family live lovingly with one another, the atmosphere will be full of peace and happiness, and love evolves by the renunciation of selfishness and pride. When selfishness and pride are renounced, love evolves automatically. If a person motivated by his selfish motive ill-treats us, we may think that we should pay him in same coin. What can we do if he is not pleased in spite of our good behavior? Covetousness for happiness in its subtle form is the reason for such thought, because we gain happiness by providing happiness to others. Therefore, as soon as we come to know of this covetousness for happiness, we should renounce it, because we have only to perform our duty by respecting and loving others. By doing so, our feelings and conduct will certainly leave a good impression on him. But even if he is not influenced by our good conduct because of his hard-heartedness, we shall feel satisfied for our good conduct. By this satisfaction our love will be enhanced and peace and happiness will prevail.